Good morning, Facebook land. It's Jillian. Happy Thursday. Wow, it's Thursday. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So, yeah, last night I was tossing and turning from a variant that I picked up from either the weekend and it was incubating or I don't know. My husband told me like yesterday, he said that I always ask him how he slept the night before and what he ate. And he said that he was tossing and turning from a backache. And I'm like, oh, okay, some kind of virus, whatever. And then he came home last night for just a 10-hour break or whatever. And I was tossing and turning. And I was blowing my nose around 3 in the morning. And you can see what notes I put down on my Facebook that I like tossing and turning at 3 o'clock or something. And yeah. And so I'm feeling this variant. And so I was blowing my nose, yes. And so it was subsiding, and I finally fell asleep. And then I pooped and I peed. I think I peed twice last night, which is more than usual. And then this morning I released a whole bunch of poop, like a whole bunch. And it was just like kept coming out. So yeah, when you get exposed to a variant, whatever it is, it comes out in your mucus and it comes out in your poop. And it also comes out in different orifices, like maybe your lymph nodes. And sometimes, if there isn't an easier way out, it'll come out through your eyes, ears, nose, mouth. It'll come out in every single exit point because you're supposed to be an open system, not a closed system. And so anyway, so that was like my just little anecdotal evidence of the pain and the T cells and the B cells leaving the body so it doesn't leave a scar. Okay, you don't want to be scarred by your environment. You want to be able to take it on, assimilate. And yeah, the release process can be kind of painful. I mean, not like it was like horrifically painful, but when you're cramping trying to get everything out, yeah, it's like holy shit. It's like the second coming of something. Okay? And so when you think about what people are chasing after when it comes to drugs, alcohol, or sex, they're chasing after a high, they're chasing after some kind of another awakening. And really, when you start releasing all those B cells and T cells, that's what people want to experience when they're going to these retreats for the ayahuasca, because all you're doing is playing with whatever memories you have inside. That's what these drugs do, is that they wake up certain memories within you, and people have different trips. That's why not all the trips are the same. It's why every trip is relative to your state of mind, relative to your predispositions, but it also cannibalizes you. You're not changing anything. You're just experiencing something within you that will then shapeshift, and who knows how it will run you. And so that's why you gotta be very careful of drugs, or not even do them at all, because they will compound the issue. I don't care if they're ayahuasca, LSD, cocaine, marijuana, even taking prescription drugs, they will work against you. It may be fun for a second, but remember, your body is building up an antibiotic resistance against it, and then those drugs will cannibalize you. And so I was doing some Googling last night of the fall of the Roman Empire and the whole thing with Julius Caesar. And I've watched many of those, the movies about Julius Caesar and the Senate murdering him, and Augustus and all that. I read a lot about Greek mythology. I've read so many stories, watched so many movies. And so I studied about the Greek pantheon and all of that. And then also when Jesus came about, and then the religions that came after Judaism and stuff. And so then I realized that the whole point of, oh God, our world is not allowing absolute power to corrupt absolutely. What is it? Absolute power, something absolutely. And you're like, well, then why are we allowing Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and all this? They're not really in power for that long. Remember, we're only seeing people stay in power every 100 years, give or take. And yeah, maybe they might be in dynasties, and there might be different offshoots of the same person, because remember, we're not that different. But what happens is that complacency is when you get too comfortable within your with your sphere of knowledge, your sphere of influence, you know, you get smug and satisfied in the knowledge that you know. And so anything new that comes in that upsets what you think you know, that has given you all this power, whether it's in your profession or it's on Facebook, YouTube, or, you know, social circles, when you get so complacent with the knowledge that you have, that's the destruction. That's being in a closed system. That's why humans or any kind of biodiversity cannot survive in a closed system, because they fail to evolve. That's already the law of physics. If you cannot evolve with your degree, if you cannot evolve with the knowledge that you think you have at the moment, thinking that that's the end all be all, if you can't evolve, then you are in a closed system, and the environment, the knowledge, the world that you live in will devour you, and then new humans that will be able to adapt and be in an open system, or you have new humans that will be in a closed system for maybe less than 100 years, will then take over the world, and the old world will fall away, the fallen kingdom, and the new world will rise up and become the new type of thing. And so then you think about human sacrifice. Like, again, when I talk about human sacrifice, and it's not always the public hanging, it's not always the stuff that you see in the fantasy movies. Human sacrifice is when those in a closed system resist change so much that they're willing to sacrifice somebody that is the messenger. It doesn't matter who it is. I mean, we've seen in the Salem witch trials, we've seen witch hunts all over the world with new and different people, with new and different ideas, with diverse people. And it's like we haven't even changed from back in the medieval days. You know, maybe we don't have the same things that happen, like the Tower in England, where they have all those medieval torture devices for both men and women. And we still see it in the movies. I mean, I'm sure some gangs out there in different places of the world, drug cartels, practice some pretty crazy stuff. But now we have human sacrifice in the media, okay? And so, you know, human sacrifice is never going to go away, because certain people derive power from taking somebody else's energy. Certain people derive power from destroying somebody else. And so maybe you don't practice it physically, but then you see all the influencers and people who don't like new information will go and witch hunt and then try to do a virtual human sacrifice. And that's the cancer culture, the cancel culture. And then we have legislation that also promotes certain aspects of human sacrifice. So then you're like, oh shit, this thing with the V arguments and all the mandates, and then you have this now, the Roe v. Wade stuff, and you're like, what the hell? And people are tripping out. All the people that are like, okay, happy with the legislation that was put in place since 1920, since 18 something, who knows, right? Everything they thought they knew was going to be status quo forever, it gets overturned. Why are they overturning Roe v. Wade? Well, you know, it's I'll say this, because you can only have somebody else responsible for taking another person's life for so long before, yeah, it does something to the doctors, it does something to the individuals promoting that. It has to be the individual, the person who is dealing with that situation, be the one to prevent something such as a birth, or I don't know, or when they do have it and it's not the way they want it to be, well, who is judge, jury, and executioner? That's the thing, is that there has to be some kind of moral guidance that if we're gonna have a baby, regardless if it has issues or not, can science make it better? That's the thing. That's the transhumanism, is no matter how the baby is born, and I guess if the mother's life is in jeopardy, no matter how the baby is born, it could have a chance to be something. And even if the mother doesn't want it, there's going to be an institution or somebody's going to want it. And that's the thing, is instead of having a back room full of mothers creating babies for science, now if you choose to get pregnant and it doesn't happen the way you want it, or the baby doesn't look the way you want it, or how, then it's going to go into the community and be used for science. That's no two ways about it. You know that it's already happening. And so that's why I think the whole Roe v. Wade, because we know that there's going to be a scale down the population with all these viruses and stuff. So how else are they going to keep humans coming into this world, regardless of if they're perfect or not, relative to your perception? Well, that's the thing. And it's going to piss off, yes, the people who are promoting the Roe v. Wade. And and destabilization is always going to be something when you take a side against any argument. And if we're already okay with being murdered by the microbes and dying by microbes, and you can, and why is it murder by microbes? Because microbes are the one that causes all the death. How you control the microbes within your body is different. It's all relative to how you understand microbes. But no matter what, if you're okay with microbes destroying someone at the micro level, then why do we have an issue with people passing away at the macro level, or not, or bringing, keeping microbes that are not very whatever? I mean, that's the thing, is that, if you're going to be okay with the death penalty, then okay, then you do, like, you want abortion, but then, okay, but you think you're trying to save the woman's life. But all life, that's the thing, it's that no matter how you look at it, whether you're on the left or on the right is all about right to life, but they're okay with microbes murdering them. The same thing on the left, with the right to life of a person who's relatively born, almost born, or someone that's on death row, or someone, or themselves. I mean, these are these are the hypocrisy when you take a side, when it comes to balancing out the population. And so then what do? Then it's each individual person. So legislating morals is something that's going to be around forever. And so if you don't like somebody else telling you what to do or how to do something, then you figure out your own life within you. You figure out how to have a relatively balanced body, so if you want to have kids, your kids are balanced and you're not facing those types of decisions and choices. But again, my information and even when I'm writing this book, it's not going to get to every single kid out there who's going to be raised in this society of maturing extremely quickly, and their brain isn't catching up. So physically maturing very quickly, their brain isn't catching up. They get caught in situations that they didn't know was going to happen, and now they're having that's how they nation build. Before, and that's the thing, it's even though we're in a decline, we're still trying to bring in children that the system can manage. That's what you have to realize. And so no matter what, stay out of the streets. And that's the I have to really get my mind wrapped around how am I going to explain this, the legislative process. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to go, but I have things to do. But I wanted to get that out there as far as complacency and the human sacrifice, because it's not just in the public hangings. It's virtual hangings on Facebook or on YouTube, and it's also the legislative process, where either you allow someone to be taken away, somebody on death row or not, or somebody like in utero, but you want to save the mother, so who's more important, the mother or the baby? And the same thing, the pro-lifer. You allow grandma to pass away, and you allow the death row people to pass away, but you don't take your life, as precious. And maybe the left are against the death row. That's what I heard, that they want to eradicate death row and eradicate the death penalty, but they want to advocate Planned Parenthood. So we're going to see a lot of shifts in a lot of the legislative process, legislating morals, and I just take care of myself. You know, if I happen to get pregnant, I will do the best I can to make sure that my whole pregnancy is perfect relative to my expectation. And yeah, I'll go through the system and do it, let them do whatever, and I will get my baby balanced. And that's what I'll do. Okay, I'm in the position, but what happens if the person isn't in the position to do it? I don't know what that is. That's that left for the individual and the family and the guardians and the system to define what is a good position to bring baby into the world, what is not a good position. It's not up to me to decide what goes on in another household. And that's really what it comes down to. It's none of my business. And I don't know. All right, that's all I got to say. Bye.